BTC Creo, how to model almost anything, exercise 3. Look in your PDF, it goes through what you should be opening, and you can skip through all that because you're all good at that now. And we are at our volume. So what this is telling you is this entire exercise is about calculations and about analysis, which is very important, especially if you want to actually use your model for something useful. So basically what we have is we have this device, and I want to remind you that you can control Alt and grab, and so we can actually manipulate the device itself if we wanted to. But we're going to look at more automated ways to do that. So the main thing that it's looking at here is the Measure tab. So if we go over to Model, we need to go to the Analysis tab, and we can actually measure, and you can measure just about anything. Let's say we want to measure the volume of the entire assembly. There you go. There it is immediately. So if this is made out of wood and you're trying to calculate how expensive it is, and you assume X amount of waste, you can actually get a money value basically of how much material this is and how much it's going to cost you to make. So that's pretty effective and pretty useful. And you also have these other things that you can do. Let's say if you want to calculate the length of an item, you can just go over to Measure and click Length, and then let's say I want to measure the length of that. That curve is 6.09 inches, or length of that piece. That curve is 4.33. So you can do a bunch of things, and you can measure angles, for example. So go Measure, Angle, and you can look at the angle relative to other things. So we click on, let's look at this angle. So we can look at that angle. Now if you just click off of it, immediately it doesn't select it. So you need to hit Control, and then that will give you a good idea of the angle there. And so for example, here to here, 89.7, here to let's not do that. You get the idea basically. So like you could do here, 130. So like you can basically look at any specifics. You can go over and look at diameters, and how big is the diameter of that radius, or what about this? How big is that diameter there? So if you were to make this a large circle, that would be a 20-inch radius. And you can then look at other things like area, for example. And you can get area of there, area of here, area of there. All these calculations done very, very quick, very, very efficient. So once the time required is setting up, and once you set up, you can do just about anything. So you can go through here, and now if you look, they actually talk about, so this is a measure summary that you can get individual things, but you can also get mass properties, which for our plane is actually pretty important. So if you go to mass properties, the feature is not selected. Let's see. We go mass properties, and we go to preview. You can actually get all of that information, like the 45. Remember, this is times 10 to the first, so that's actually 45 inches cubed volume. Now, if you actually sneak peek a little bit down, it tells you exactly where your center of gravity is, and it actually tells you your inertia tensor. And if you actually remember from physics, inertia is the resistance to change in motion. So how hard, and tensor has to refer to three-dimensional space, how hard this device is to turn, which if you're trying to fly, pretty important as far as predicting control algorithms is knowing that information. And so there's a bunch of things here that you might not ever use, but it's definitely here, and you can see that. So it kind of goes through different properties, mass properties. Again, you can change the units if you want to. You can file prepare, and then material properties, and you can change the units here. You could change the material. Basically, some of the similar stuff that we did before. Now, something new is School tab, which I don't have again, but I wanted to show you actually this feature. So this talks about mechanism. Well, I don't see a mechanism anywhere. But you actually have a pretty good search feature. So mechanism, there you go, and it will actually tell you where it is. So it's under applications and mechanism. or I can just click on it and it opens it for me. But if I didn't, now I know that the mechanism option is under applications in this version. So I click mechanisms and you get your menu. So mechanisms and analyses, and basically you can do some analysis on these devices and the things that you make. So mechanism analysis, and you can go ahead and measure different things. And so we'll just go ahead and click run. And so it's going to go through all of the mechanisms for you and simulate everything that's going on. And now we essentially, in this playback, we just added a new definition, which is what we just did. And under here, now we can do a bunch of analysis on that. So if you set up your device for any movement, like for example the flaps, you can actually do analysis on, force required, distance, speed, velocity, all this stuff. So let's take a look at how to do that. So you can go back and you can hit play, and it will run through it again. But more importantly is we can do analysis. So we want to go to the Measures tab, which is up here. And so we can click Measure, and actually this is from earlier. But we can actually go through and measure versus time. So if we create a new one, and you can call this position, and essentially we want to pick a point on this device. Let's say you can pick like the very end of the wing, for example. And you want to calculate the amount, and you want to calculate each time step. So, all the way through the device, not just only sometimes. But you could select other things like the minimum or the maximum, or sum them all up over time, and you could figure out a bunch of information that could be potentially useful. So you could do position, and then we could also look at, let's say, velocity. And you can see that you actually have a lot here. Net load, impact, acceleration. So you can look at velocity, same point, and you could do another one. You could do acceleration, and same point. Okay, so you have these three things, and now you can actually select them all and apply them to here. And interesting, I'm wondering if this point was not set the same as these. Let's see. So that's this piece right there. But position was different. Or was it? Looks like the same. Interesting that they didn't calculate. Now this is calculated. Huh. Interesting. I actually do not know why that is happening. Okay, there we go. So, funny enough, if you actually notice in the video, I had predetermined values in there beforehand, and what that means is I actually didn't erase the not displayed. Oops. So this is a perfect example of why you want to, when you close an item, you want to erase it, because you can get errors down the line that you may not be able to understand. So what I did was I actually closed out the entire thing, erased the not displayed features, and then reopened, and then did the exact same process to get all these values so you can create your data. So another very important thing, why I keep stressing it, is you need to delete everything when you close something. So the PDF goes to continue about what you can actually do with this information. So you do velocity, you do acceleration, and you make this nice little graph, which is at the top of this box, and this graphs everything for you. So you can close and keep this graph up. Now what's actually interesting is you can then go to play, and you'll actually be able to pick out exactly when a certain velocity or a certain force or a certain position, going all the way up, all the way down. You can actually pick out exactly when that object experiences that acceleration or that force or whatever you're trying to assess. And so pretty powerful stuff, pretty useful. and going through tells you to play it, and then delete and get out of everything that you have here and start your practice exercise. So again, what I'm looking for from you is answer the questions at the end here, 1 through 7, and take screenshots of every step throughout the whole thing. You measuring it, you calculating analysis, you doing this and making your own graph, and so on and so forth. So go ahead and do that now.